Okay, so we're starting. Hi, everyone. I'm Annabelle Poe from Cantamanto Social Club. A little brief introduction of what we do. We are an upcycled fashion platform that supports marginalized communities on the front line of textile waste. So we work with the Cantamanto market, which is one of the largest secondhand markets in West Africa and one of the largest in the world as well. So 15 million pieces of discarded clothing arrive in this market. The chair is here. Every single week, and they're one of the largest um, textile remanufacturing spaces in the world. So today's panel is about before the Bale, the joy of prolonging clothing life, and we have the lovely shared bag on the other side in Toronto on the screen. Someone says hi. Um, And today's focus is to understand what happens locally. So, for people to understand what to do before garments actually disappear and disappear into a global waste stream that you don't see. So, today we will be asking questions like how can practices like swapping, creative interventions like upcycling that people are still doing now in the space over there. How can we find joy in extending the garment's life cycle? So I am thankful to have an audience here in Amsterdam for Fashion Week, as well as a small audience there as well in Toronto. I would like to first introduce the panelists here in Amsterdam. We have Etta Leighton Pons from Etta Studio. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Etta, and I'm the founder and designer behind Etta Studio, an upcycled women's wear brand focused on recycling and upcycling from things that already exist into things you wouldn't necessarily know are upcycled, such as this denim vest. I'm really trying to break out of the fact that upcycling needs to be one of one. It should be this mainstream thing that we can all participate in.
Thank you, Etta. And here with us, we also have Swap Mode. We have Marita Flores and Laura Victoria. Can you introduce yourself,
Yeah,
please?
I'm Marite. I'm from Chile. I also work in education in fashion, and that's how I know Annabelle. Uh, Thank you, Annabelle, for inviting me to this very nice event that you're putting together for the Amsterdam community and the Netherlands also, because I'm sure that a lot of people came from other cities. I co-founded Swapmod last year. And yeah, so we're here all because we want to have a better industry.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Laura, co founder of Swap Mode, also expert in circular fashion, have my own consultancy in that space. And just to add on top of what Marite was saying, for us, our angle is really around culture. So I think in the fashion industry, we're doing a lot around circular business models and strategy, but we're forgetting about people and behavior. So that's how we have created Swap Mode to kind of catalyze, spark some circular culture behavior. There's an echo.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an echo, Swani. 2 seconds. Okay, but I need you to speak soon. um, so on the other side in Toronto, we have Swani Aranguran, who is the co-founder of the Shared Bag. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, can you hear us okay? Yeah. Okay. So my name is Swani. I'm the founder of the Sherbet. I'm originally from Colombia. I've been here in Canada about 20 years. And yeah, I think sewing and upcycling, it seems like it's like a single person is doing it's a bit lonely that people are doing it on their own. But it's a big community and we want to bring people together. So we open up spaces where people can upcycle together, sew together, learn different skills on textiles. And yeah, very excited to be here.
And joining Swanee, we have Hunaina Kamran from the Clothing Bank. Would you like to share more about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Anna, Senior Manager of Circles, and we have one aspect of it is clothing bank. So we have the biggest clothing bank. Well, yes,
Oh,
we're
so
most
sorry, we can't hear you very well, Hunaina.
just need to speak up. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I manage a clothing bank. It's called New Circles, and it is the biggest clothing bank in North America. We're more so focused on helping people at the moment, but we're kind of transitioning more into the fashion space and increasing the life cycle of the items that are donated to us because we get a fairly large amount of clothing that comes our way, and often it's usable, but more often than not, it's not usable. So yeah, happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So let's start the panel talk. Let's step into the heart of the problem about donations of clothes. So many of us probably see these textile bins around the city where we donate our clothes, and we actually have no idea where they vanish to and what happens after it's donated. um, we would like to ask why it matters that why does it matter that people lose agency over the garments? Maybe this is a question for all the panelists actually, and we would like to start with Etta.
I think that the system that we're kind of currently in is programmed for us to lose that agency. It's programmed for us to buy something, not worry about where it goes, and not even really have the thought of when you buy it, where will it go if I don't want it? And so I think it's so important that kind of right from the moment of buying something, you're already thinking, okay, well, if this doesn't work out for me, do I have friends that would want it? Do I like trying to think what would be the kind of life cycle of this if I actually don't want it at the moment that you buy it, and that's kind of why it's so important to continue this agency over what you own, because kind of just because you get rid of it, it doesn't mean it's gone, as we know from this environment very much so.
Very like we'll try to keep it short. I think I mentioned that I'm from Chile because when I see textile waste, I imagine that will end up, yeah, obviously not only there, but I guess you have seen how a lot of clothes were dumped in the Atacama Desert. So for me, it's like I wish that people would think more about what will happen after. For me personally, it's really hard to go to a textile bin because I don't know what will happen with the things. So yeah, it's a problem that we are all here trying to solve somehow. But yeah, that the answers or yeah, the message that we're trying to give now has to go further outside of our bubble.
Yeah, and I think it's also the solutions that are around fashion, right? We have like this super fun dopamine moment when we buy things, but then we are forgetting to create moments where what happens after. I think we've done a really good job here in this space, right? Which is like this community building of let's upcycle it. And that's really fun. You're making new friends. You're like, it's also therapeutic. It's also, you're creating something with a garment that you were going to let go of, or swapping, or other solutions that form part of that experience that, you know, okay, this is what I can do with my garment after. And it's an easy thought, and it's not guilty thought either. And I think also associating, you know, the throwing away thing of fashion, what I mean by that is, you know, there's that negative connotation of, oh, I'm going to throw this away. No, that shouldn't be the connection between what happens to your garment after after you're done wearing it. So yeah, my 2 cents.
It's great. I mean, a little bit of context from what Marita was saying. You can see a landfill of clothing from a satellite actually in Chile. So this is the mass scale of textile waste that happens and is produced globally and is shipped to spaces like Cantamanto and spaces like this desert in Chile. Maybe Hanina or Swani would like to add to this.
Absolutely. And this has been such a pain in my neck for the past year of my life. So like I said, like we get donated a lot of money.
I'm
So
sorry,
we I was
Hanina, I can't really hear you super well.
is better. Maybe hold the mic closer.
Hmm. I think it's a little bit better when you hold it closer to.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, so I was saying that this has been the pain in my life for a while now. For about a year, I've been so like I said, we get donations in a really large amount, and not everything is used. Often it's like beautiful items from the 70s, like that nobody wants anymore. So we do tend to, so not everything is good for the because our motto is to give people a dignified shopping experience. So we don't want to give people something that's torn or ripped or not the best of condition. So we do have to basically that's our way. It has to go somewhere, right? So I've been looking for partnerships that I can vouch for and I can say that yes, they are doing what say they're doing. For the most part, the organizations that I've found, they're saying, "Oh, we're going to export these items," and that's it. That's all they can tell me. I'm like, "Where is it going? What are they going to do with it?" They actually do not have an answer for that. So I've actively been looking for organizations that will repurpose, recycle, and can show me tangible results that this is what's happening with these items. Yeah, so it's an ongoing problem in my life and my work.
Okay, I can add to that. So on our end, that's actually the reason we're here. So because a lot of the stuff are not either like they're not cool enough anymore, or the colors are not perfect, or they're being stained, or damaged, or breakage. There's different things. So we work with that. So that's where we either if you're buying something thrifted and you want to make sure it fits you perfectly, so it's good to alter it a little bit, but also it's important to know how long it takes for something to be worked on. So that's why we wanted people to engage with their items and engage with the process and be like, this is not magic, it just doesn't appear. One month to the next, you have to work and measure and cut. So it's a really good way to connect people to their garment. And yeah, so that also if items are a little bit damaged, we can fix them, we can embroider, do some physical mendings. There's fun things that you can do to personalize your item, to make it your own, to give, yeah, your own experience to it.
Amazing. I think you have actually answered the next few questions on my little notepad. Um, but I think we move on to what role can creativity and community play in changing this narrative, the narrative of dirty clothing or clothing waste. How I think Laura talked a little bit about it, about that dopamine level, about buying something new and then being able to relating that to being able to upcycle and build a community from there. How important is that, and how do we make that more accessible to the local community here? Sure.
I think that's very much the essence of swap mode. We are trying to reverse that thinking of this is a dirty garment just because somebody else wore it, and also create that same type of dopamine level with the type of events that we have. We make sure that they're elevated, curated. We normally also include like a cocktail or a drink, like how we had today. We're blasting Latin music because we're both Latinas, so we lean into our culture. And it's that dopamine that we also try to create, and that community part where it's actually a lot of fun. All of the girlies come in, boys are invited too, but it just happens to be a lot of girlies. And it's just fun. So we try to create that second moment that is also dopamine linked. Um, and through that foster that community, shift that mindset of this is a dirty garment. No, it's just it's been worn, but it looks cute on you. Go ahead and wear it a bit more, and when you're done with it, bring it back. And we try to create that cultural shift with that as well. So yeah. Any other thoughts?
As a brand, I think trying to be a cultural tastemaker is so important, and that's kind of the whole reason that I started my brand, was kind of trying to really make upcycling cool, and kind of take it out of necessarily the craft side of it, where it is so important. Don't get me wrong, but it's trying to also see it as this is an aspirational thing. It's not just a dirty garment. It's not just something that my grandma would do. It's actually a really cool thing. And I think building spaces like this, which are actually cool, is so important, because I think that's the only way that we're going to change culture, is kind of exactly as you're saying, Laura, like being able to make it into something that people want to do and want to be a part of. And it's not kind of, this is my only option, because I know in a lot of places in the world, that is why upcycling happens. But I think it's actually within the global north, shifting that whole perspective of, this is actually a really cool thing. Like, that's what we've got to embrace.
Maybe Suwani would like to add something about how upcycling can be a cool experience.
Yeah, I can add a few things on that. So here in Toronto, so there's big cities in North America, a lot of people are here for work or for study, a lot of people are here without their families, so that's a good way to connect, meet new friends. It's a different scale and like an interest that you kind of like be part of this cool club of upcyclers. So yeah, same thing is like we want to make an experience unique, an experience that you want to repeat, that you want to get that fun times and like the excitement. Also, we see that a lot of adults now, we are in our work and like it's hard to find ways to create and be creative and be just artistic and just like let that part of you out. So it's a good way to also engage in that and explore that part of us and like keep thinking like, what can I do to make this my vision? You know, so how can I turn this? Like a lot of things happening in the brain that helps a lot to get connected and feel like we're part of something.
Just to add to that, like me being in a clothing bank, I'm in a very, very unique space. So I have an access to a lot of clients as well. So we kind of sell it as a skill learning, like you will learn a new skill, and it is so fantastic, especially for, because I'm not sure how familiar you are with Toronto, but we have a large amount of newcomers, and often the women from these countries are not, they haven't worked in the workforce, they do not have any prior education, and they don't plan on going into the workforce because of their cultural restrictions, religious restrictions, whatever it is. So by being able to offer them something, they can come in, sit in a community setting, interact with other folks with similar interests, and go home with a new skill. So that they can start something from home, because more often than not, they're not allowed to go out and work. So if they can be financially independent, like that's another way that we're kind of selling the idea that create, make, transform, things like that, as opposed to just buying.
Yeah, I think what Hanaina was saying is very interesting because we also work with a partner here, Het Hood, which is where we got all the clothing, that clothing mountain pile at the back. And they also work with socially distant people from the labor market in order to create opportunities and jobs for them. But at the same time, it also makes, we know that the end of life of textiles is a very costly process. So most organizations within this part of the supply chain are always social organizations, which is amazing because it solves two different problems at the same time, both the textile waste and a labor problem. Um, so we would like to move on to more concrete steps. I know people here probably do not know so much about what to do with their textiles after they don't want them anymore. Not every garment actually should follow the same pathways. So I'm asking all the panelists, what types of clothes belong in which end of life process? And if you have any tips for the audience here and over there in Toronto.
interesting when you're saying what types of clothes deserve which pathway. I think if you're donating something, it needs to be something that you would be happy to wear yourself. Because I think people really assume that with donations and textile bins, they can put absolutely anything in there. And it's real people sorting it on the other side. And like, if you just think about the kinds of stuff that goes through those bins, it's just so not okay. So I think, I mean, for me, I will not put things in the bin. And we'll try and think of ways to reuse kind of soiled textiles, even if it's just for making them into rags to be able to clean your windows and things like that. Like trying to think of like downcycling that you can do in your own home before then putting that onto somebody else. But I mean, in terms of things that I would love putting out to the room, any denim, any shirts, anything like that, I am so happy to upcycle and want to be able to make more pathways between local upcyclers and things that are donated, because it's actually really difficult to get access to sorting centers and things like that, because once it's got to them, of course they've got to process it. They don't want to deal with small scale upcyclers, so it's really trying to work out how are you the prevention before it gets there.
Yeah, it's really hard to give an answer for that, but I would say that also it's important, as I'm speaking more on from the when I'm going to get something new perspective, to think what I will do with something at the end of the life with me. So I also saw people today saying like, no, but I'm just taking this because I don't really need more clothes, and that's something like a step zero of what will happen to that, because then you're like, it's part of the overconsumption thing that we are part of it, like it's in the system. But yeah, I think that the textile bins get everything, like also things that are not clothes. And a really nice way of keeping them and wearing them is like swap, even with your family. I find sometimes things like in my mom's wardrobe, like my sisters, or even now I give things to my nieces. So that's something that you can do, and it's really easy repairing them. There are repair cafes now everywhere. So there are a lot of like circular fashion tools out there, and sometimes it takes more effort, and I know that here, probably, but we need to take it out there so more people make that effort.
No, I think yes.
How about Hanaina and Swani on the other side?
I don't have a lot to add to this because I'm not a materials expert. But something that the lady mentioned is like triggered what we have to deal with at work is that sometimes, oh my God, like I've had bed bugs delivered to me, I've had cockroaches delivered to me, a bag smelling of like heavily of cigarettes delivered to me. So yeah, just for the audiences in Toronto and after them, just think about where it's going and who it's going to. And if you're not okay with it, please don't donate it. Don't pass on.
Yeah, I also have seen a diaper sorting facility. So it's not nice. And at the end of the day, the whole bag of textiles is contaminated, so no one can do anything with it anymore.
Yeah, and what I could say for that is like, well, there's so many different textiles and actual textiles that really unfortunately have a really bad end of life, but they're already here, so we want to work with whatever is here already and transform it as many times as we can. But I can also say that on the other side, it's not only like garments, but also like textiles like curtains, tablecloths, sheets, bed sheets. So that's really important that people can, that those are big pieces of fabric that you can pretty much make any garment out of it. So that's also if you're like not big on the deconstructing part of the garment, you can use those big fabrics to then turn it into something.
Yeah, so adding to that, I'm actually wearing a curtain. And it's made by Alpha Costumes from Cantamanto Market. Yeah, so it's definitely a very beautiful piece of curtain, but it was shipped through a very complex supply chain, and it ended up in Cantamanto. So yeah, I would like to move on to what's missing in Amsterdam and Toronto. Like, what do you wish to see in the current ecosystem that we have in terms of prolonging joy for clothing life?
Well, I think my answer would be adding on to this, like, options before it goes into the textile, like, sorting facility. So having more access for upcyclers and being able to access it before it's kind of gone through 7 different hands, and actually have kind of local sorting centers where they invite people in who can actually utilize these products before it gets shipped anywhere else in the world. And so that oh
They have dropped, but they will join. I
hopefully it'll
thought,
join back.
yeah.
But I think that would be my main point, is that I would love for there to be more local solutions before things are shipped anywhere else in the world.
I think that changing the perception of people thinking that organizing, for example, a swap doesn't mean a lot of work, and sometimes it's. I think it would be nice to have like more support from, yeah, maybe the local government to organize this type of events, or sometimes like uh, people come to a swap and think that they don't want to. I understand that we are all in a very like difficult economy, but it's hard to make people understand that a swap, because even if it's waste or the clothes they are bringing are for free, it also has to be, yeah, organized. Yeah, like, it's so changing that perception, I think it's difficult, so to make it bigger, because we really want to reach more people and to make it like, yeah, hopefully it will be every month, or yeah, I think people want to get like a new outfit, I guess, more regularly. So I think that would help to make it bigger in Amsterdam or in other cities, but I'm just like speaking about the swapping perspective.
Yeah, totally still talking about the swapping perspective, but we would love to see, and we're tooting at our own horn here, brands doing swap events. Like, like we want to see, I don't know, the G Stars, the Tommies, the big brands. Primark does it? That's awesome. Yeah, we want to upcycling. Yeah. So we would love to see them bringing those experiences to their customer and thinking differently about how to get people to engage with their products, but in a whole new way. So
I didn't know Primark does this. Interesting. So, giving a little bit context, the laptop died on the other side. That's why they've dropped off, but they're getting a new laptop right now. With hybrid events, it's super difficult sometimes. Um, but actually, since we are in this situation, do you guys have any questions to ask about what to do with certain things or opening up? Yeah.
I mean, petition to the big brands is my biggest like action point, because yes, the quality is reducing so much in comparison to kind of vintage clothing, but it's just the speed in which we're needing to make it. If we're stuck in these cycles of needing to have a drop every couple of months, it's going to continue in that vein. But that's why, I mean, I also work for Fashion for Good, and looking into textile to textile recycling, it should not be the first solution. It should be the last solution because it takes up so much energy to be able to do that. But when we're producing things of such low quality, it's really hard to then keep that in the supply chain, being able to give that to other people, being able to actually upcycle it. Because I mean, even for me, some of the denim has so much elastane in it that I cannot upcycle with it because it overstretches and then it doesn't. Yeah, you can't actually do anything with it.
Yeah, it's a system problem, like a global issue of like all the brands overproducing, and also we are over consuming. Like it's um I find it really hard. Like then you can also start like speaking about like degrowth because that's the only, well, not the only, but I think it's a way of accepting, and then maybe the quality can get better again. I don't know. I hope. I also sometimes when I find things that are secondhand and they are old, I'm like, oh, this is so nice because I know it's like if it's been there in that shop for maybe months or I don't know how many lives, and then it's still good. But like, okay, I can keep it for years. Do you want to add something?
They're trying to join in, but it's almost like planned obsolescence. Yeah. With all the tech that we have now, it's meant to last for this long. So it goes the same for fashion. Everything is made really cheaply. But I think it's interesting because, like, for example, the concept of made in China, actually, things made in China are not bad. It's what the brands actually push for. They're the ones that determine what is made and how much money is spent in making the outfit. So if they had more budget or they gave more of a budget, the clothes will be made better. The techniques are there. So it's really actually defined by consumers, like everyone here in the space. Like, what brands do you support? What do you buy? It's important to put. Oh, I need to let them in. Are you helping? Thank you. Let me. I also don't know. Yarrow. Yarrow's my boyfriend, but also the tech guy.
I think there was a question at the front.
Oh, is there another question in the front? Okay, there's two questions. So let's start with the one in the front first.
So I arrived in Amsterdam in February, and I'm actually doing a 4-year research about secondhand clothes between East Asia and West Africa. Actually, I'm focusing on Ghana, but I only knew about this event today. And I wonder, even though my project is not dealing with the Netherlands, but I'm interested in knowing how the textile kind of recycling system or is working here, because I think you mentioned how it would be nice for people to know more about the sorting process and like all that. But even for me, as researching, like I'm actively reaching out to people to know about these processes. It's not easy to get access, and it's often quite like closed door and hidden, and in many different countries and contexts. And I just want to know more about the situation in the Netherlands. Yeah, because I just
Okay, great question. Maybe I just give like a context to the Toronto side of what's happening. So right now we're getting questions from the public. Now there's a lot of people on the screen, but I'm like we're getting some questions from the public just to kill time a little bit before I go back to the panel talk, if that's okay. Um, does anyone of the panelists wants to answer this question? Or else I can also do it.
So some of the work that I do is really denim focused, but a lot around recycling denim and working with the Dutch government and so on and so forth. So within that context, some of what I can share is that there is a huge network of recyclers and sorters in the Netherlands. And as you correctly pointed out, it's very hush hush, very little information on who does what. Um, it's also, they win, what's the term in English? I'm blanking. Basically, like the highest bid. There's like, um, and if they win that, then they get access to a lot more of the textiles that is collected in the different textile bins around Amsterdam and different municipalities. And from what I understand, and this is probably very similar in other regions as well, is that a lot of that textile actually is not used for recycling. Circle Economy actually did a really good report on that. I think only 1% goes into textile to textile recycling, and the majority of that is used for secondhand. The secondhand vintage kind of world. And of course, the typical, it gets shipped to other regions that are controversial. But your experience is not very, what's the word that I'm looking for? Yeah, not unique. Thank you. Because there is very little information out there in terms of what they're doing. And also now with EPR, so extended producer responsibility, that will come into place, the Dutch government needs to figure out how much they need to support these industries in order to really get these folks to properly recycle and reincorporate these fabrics or fibers back into the fashion industry. So it's painful moment that we're in to kind of bring some light into those topics.
Yeah, I was just going to add, as being someone who's working both in an organization who focuses on this and as an upcycler, it's very hard to get this information. And I think it's because kind of countries are embarrassed of like how they're actually handling things. So it's very sensitive information, and also very kind of, when it then gets shipped to other places, very sensitive relationships with other countries of how much can go to where, when. So I think it's also a bridge between private organizations and governments, because a lot of these sorters are private businesses. And I think that the link between, private sector and government is really not strong enough.
Actually, maybe Hanina can add something about this. We're talking about the transparency and the knowledge about the sorting systems and around the world. Specifically, we were talking about the Netherlands, but maybe it's interesting to hear from Toronto. I'm not sure if they can hear me. Can you hear me? Han- Hanina, we can't hear you. I think you're on mute. Maybe your mic is not on. Oh, it's the video quality is getting worse. Okay, maybe I can add something to that. I think in general, yeah, countries are embarrassed. There are trade agreements between different countries in order to export waste. And it's interesting to see that for us as an upcycle platform to import upcycled garments, it's almost impossible because under the eyes of the import and export. Okay. So Ani, I can hear myself.
I think we lost them. Sonia, can you please help? Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Okay.
But I can hear.
Okay, now back to Helena.
But Swani, I can
Yeah,
hear
so I was saying that I can hear
Sorry, hybrid events are very difficult to manage.
Should just be volatile.
I'm gonna talk without the mic for a moment. But for us to import textiles, like upcycled pieces like this, it's still considered waste. So we are unable to import anything because there's no trade agreement between Europe or the Netherlands and Ghana. So the HS code still sees this as waste, and there is not allowed to import waste in back to Europe. Yeah. So yeah. Hanaina, maybe you can say something. Try.
Working?
Yes, it's
Let me
working.
try.
Yes, it's working.
Hello?
Yes, it's working. It's working.
Okay, so I guess the computer mic is working. So I was gonna say that like we when it comes to sorting items, we obviously give first dibs to people like Swanee, people who are in upcycling, recycling, and things like that. Also, in like big corporations are kind of getting more conscious. Well, I don't know if they're getting more conscious or if they just want to like greenwash their money essentially. But we have noticed lately that we're getting a large bulk of donations from them as well. So, for example, organizations like Aritzia and Uniqlo, like when they have items that are, say, like past the season or they don't want it on the floor anymore, they come to us as opposed to being sold off in a large bale. So, yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's kind of the trend in Toronto.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing because we don't have that here in
I think that's a good thing because
that we don't have that in Amsterdam. So, is there another question from the floor? Kim, would you like to ask a question? Come, come, ask the question. Okay, maybe I will say the question on the mic so the other side can hear. One of the public members are asking that she doesn't have sewing experience, or she would love to join but doesn't have sewing experience. And usually, when it comes to swapping, she's too small of a size to be able to swap something for herself. So, what's a good starting point, especially for people who have not engaged with any of these pathways and would like to get into it?
Well, first of all, if you're the smallest of the group, definitely still swap, and then you can upcycle it to make it fit. So that's kind of like a workaround of the two. I mean, the workshop that we just had today literally required no sewing experience at all, and we want to make it a welcoming experience for people who don't have the creative bug and want to just kind of get started. I think it's really just trying to find those spaces where it doesn't require like a degree in being able to sew to get started, because that's kind of what we're trying to build here.
Yeah, maybe Swani or Hanaina,
maybe
would you like to
one.
add anything?
Yeah.
Elena, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, can you hear us now? Okay, perfect. So, yeah, exactly. That's what we do. That's we, in general, in our workshops, we don't necessarily ask for any knowledge, and we bring people who have the knowledge, so we can pick their brains. They can teach us a lot of the tips and tricks of how to do some stuff, and then you get more familiar with it. I always mention like it's sad that like in school we learn math not to become a mathematician, but just to learn the basics of survival. But we should learn sewing the same way. Like we don't need to become fashion designers. We don't need to know how to make a color set, but we could definitely should be able to fix just change a button and fix a little things.
Yeah, I think it's actually sewing a button is a very good way into getting into it. Because you don't have to do much. You just have to do like 2 points. I got you, Kim. um, but yeah, maybe going on to the last question. Um, we talk a lot about scaling solutions. Like, is scaling up always the answer, or is actually scaling deep? This is like a term that I've came up with. Is it about looking at local resilience, about tighter community ecosystems, or informal ties within the local system? Um, is scaling really necessary, or do we need many groups of people coming together?
That's such a good question, and I don't have like a direct answer, but I'll just kind of share my thoughts in the sense that this has been something that Marita and I have been talking about. We obviously want to scale swap mode, like let's make it global. Let's go big or go home, right? Because our vision is really like we want to get the Zara Primark girlies. We want to get them into our swap mode experience because for us it's really important. Sometimes the sustainability can have a very heavy feeling to it and a lot of judgment attached to it. So the girly that loves fashion and just likes to get dressed and the cute stuff is in whatever Primark or Zara, she will be like, no, 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 I can't because I'm not sustainable. But we tried to take away all of that judgment and all of negative vibes with swap mode. So for that to happen, obviously we do want to have certain scale and voice and influence, and we're just starting. We're like really small, by the way. Everyone follow swap mode on Instagram. Thanks. But so but then I think there is like a level where after that you kind of say, okay, let's go deep, as you said, because I think it's all about community, and that itself can have very big influence and trickle down into other areas that maybe you're not aware of. So yeah.
I think we need a lot of people doing it imperfectly. I think that if we just look for kind of the perfect solution and say that there's only going to be one, nothing will change. So I think it is really important for kind of lots of different people to gone again to be doing this in their different communities and being able to spread this. But I think it really is in terms of scale. I think it would be such a wild change of our entire system for it to be swap mode and S Studio is the only thing that you would see on your high street. So I think that like scale it up because I think we've got such a long way to go before that is an issue within our society. But as long as there's lots and lots of people doing it in their way in their community.
Yeah, I think actually that's a very good place to end off, but then they have dropped the call. Maybe I'll take more questions from the public. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering because you were talking about the issues with the value chain. If you heard of this startup called Healthy, which is pretty, yeah, so you know it. Basically, a neighborhood hub. They have two locations in Amsterdam where you can drop off textiles, but also plastics and electronics, and they sort it out.
Droppy.
Into like local, so they go to the secondhand shops, but also go to upcyclers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really broken. It's really cool. Yeah, but I don't know if there's an issue within that. If you're also looking at something like that.
I mean, I've been in contact with them previously, but it's more to do with just getting the right things. Like they're great because they're much smaller scale, so they are open to working with upcyclers. But it's more the bigger clothing banks that it's much more difficult to get in contact with anyone. Yeah.
Well, the good news is they're doing very well.
Yeah.
Personally, skating.
Oh, amazing.
Right now, I think they're opening shops in Rotterdam as well.
Amazing. Great. Well, hopefully they will be the biggest one, and then but they're actually open to being more transparent about where the stuff goes, which is great. Amazing. Yeah.
Swani and Hanina, I think we're just taking questions from the public now because the internet connection's not super good. Is there any other questions here in the public? No questions. No questions always means it's very clear. Do you all know what to do with your clothes now? Yes? Yes? Okay, great. Thank you, Swani and Hanaina. I'm sorry, the internet connection is not super great, but thank you for joining us in the panel, and of course, thank you to the panelists here. Now we are actually going to try to open. I mean, the internet is not so good, but we're going to try to showcase what's happening in Toronto because they're also going to do an upcycling event. So the portal will not be. You can see them on the screen, but you can't speak to them. So you just see what they're doing over there. And whoever would like to upcycle, it's still open. If you want to make something, if you felt inspired by this talk, if you want to do anything, I think she made that top today, no? Yeah, do
the
you?
eyelets,
Yeah, the eyelets. Would you like to stand up and show everyone what you made? Woo! Yeah, maybe you can come to the camera. You could just come to the camera. So someone wants to show you guys what she made today. Or I just yeah. Yeah.
Wait,
So
it's there.
there. Yeah. So she made this outfit today. Yay. Oh, they love it. They love it. Amazing. Thank you for joining us. And there's upcycled pieces for sale on the other side of the room. So please come and support us and come and talk to us.
And please follow Etta Studio on Instagram.
Really bad at it.